So one thing is for certain, Donald Trump definitely pays attention to the media, because when they came out and started talking about him falling asleep in court, he immediately said that he was just keeping his eyes closed and taking it all in. And when they started pointing out how that his family hadn't been showing up to support him at the trial, well, he rallied the troops around him, and he's got them all out front now talking and basically violating his gag order for him. My good friend Coach D is back here to talk to us more about that today. And I want you guys to be sure and go over and subscribe to his YouTube channel. It is now Coach D Spoke. I will tag it in the description below. But Coach D is going to take you through this. Mike Johnson just basically is now being a parrot for Donald Trump. Take a look.
What's up, everyone? I'm Coach D. If you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 20,000 subscribers, and I appreciate every one of you guys. So, in the last few days, Donald Trump has had kind of a cast of characters showing up to court for him. He's had J.D. Vance, Speaker Mike Johnson, Vivek Ramaswamy, and I can only imagine the rage call he made to these people when the media started talking about how Melania and Ivanka and Eric and Don Jr. haven't really been there. I know we've seen Eric, maybe once or twice, but they haven't really been there for him. So he probably rage called Vivek Ramaswamy and said, if you don't show up, you have no chance of being my vice president. Then he probably called J.D. Vance and said the same thing. You will not be my vice president if you don't show up. Then he called Speaker Mike Johnson. He said, I will allow Marjorie Taylor Greene to file this motion, and I will allow them to vacate your seat if you don't show up. So now they're showing up. And I think they've also found a cheat code. You see, if you notice the press conferences that they're giving, when they come out of these court hearings, when they come out of these trials, they are basically violating Donald Trump's gag order for him. Recently, you had J.D. Vance talking about how it's a scam trial and bringing up the judge's daughter. Well, now you have Speaker Mike Johnson doing exactly the same thing.
What we've got here is a partisan Democrat district attorney. We have a Biden donor judge, and we have an assistant DA who was recently a top official at the Department of Justice, Biden's DOJ, and recently received over $10,000 in payments from the Democratic National Committee.
I find it funny that a lot of Republicans are open to the idea that almost anyone can be corrupt except for Donald Trump. Like, because this judge happens to be a Democrat, he must be partisan. Because someone worked for the DOJ, they must be partisan. But we know that Donald Trump had a relationship with Stormy Daniels. We know that he paid her to keep that relationship quiet. But they can't fathom that he would also try and lie about how he paid for that or falsify tax documents to hide what he did, just so that he could be elected president. They can't fathom that. Again, everyone around him, everyone in this country, they're open to them possibly being corrupt, but not Donald Trump, a guy who has proven time and time again to fabricate stories, tell lies, and do whatever it takes to stay in power.
The star witness here is Michael Cohen. I just listened to a few moments of his testimony this morning, and it is consistent with what he's already done. This is a man who is clearly on a mission for personal revenge, and who is widely known as a witness who has trouble with the truth.
Yes, Michael Cohen has been known to have trouble with the truth, even as a witness. You know why? Because he lied for Donald Trump. They're going to also bring up the fact that Michael Cohen went to prison. You know why he did? He went to prison for lying for Donald Trump. This is what this is about right now. Michael Cohen has already spent his time. He's already paid his debt for the crimes that he committed for Donald Trump on his behalf. This is what this case is about. Donald Trump is now on trial for the same things Michael Cohen has already been convicted of.
He is someone who has a history of perjury and is well known for it. No one should believe a word he says today.
Something that was pointed out on Morning Joe this morning was that when Mike Johnson first became Speaker of the House, he was someone who they said, was guided by principles. If you wanted to know who Mike Johnson is, read the Bible, because that's where he got his morals and his ethics and his principles from. My, how the tables have turned. Like, he's now a guy standing there defending a guy who is on trial for having a relationship with an adult star, lying about that relationship, covering it up, paying her to not say anything about it, then falsifying tax statements to cover it up. That's who the guy who's guided by the Bible is now defending. But I digress. Because you know how Donald Trump always says, I only surround myself with the best people. I'm going to hire the best people. There was a time when Michael Cohen was one of those best people. He was the best lawyer around. And if you haven't noticed this pattern with Donald Trump, let me explain it. They're always the best people. He's the best lawyer. She's the best attorney general. They're the best speaker of the House. They're the best leader of the military. They're always the best people until they decide to stop lying and tell the truth about Donald Trump. You see, with Speaker Johnson, J.D. Vance, Vivek Ramaswamy, and everyone who showed up at that court today, even his children, for Donald Trump, have to realize is that the second they start exposing him for who he is, they can be on the other side of this as well. And Donald Trump will have a bunch of other surrogates out there talking bad about them as well. Because that is who Donald Trump actually is. Period.